Bangladesh is witnessing massive unrest. Protests everywhere. There's a sense of fear in minority communities. And in a latest, Khaleda Zia's son Tariq Rahman has now returned to his own country after nearly 17 years. And yes, not alone, with family. Even their pet came with them. Now to unearth more on what's happening in Bangladesh, I am joined by Ms. Veena Sikri. She is a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Ma'am, first of all, a very warm welcome to DD India News. To begin with, another Hindu man has been beaten to death, and this comes after lynching of Dipu Chandra Das. It tells a lot about the situation of minority community in Bangladesh. How do you react to this? Number one, how do you assess this? What is actually happening and why? This is really shocking.
Well, it is shocking, and I think it is barbaric, because the way in which they are beating people to death, the way in which Chandra Das was beaten to death, his body was he was actually handed over by the police and the factory to a mob. They didn't protect him. His own factory didn't protect him. The police didn't protect him. They just handed it over, beaten to death, and then put on a stake and then burnt. And now, when the world community has been, saying such strong things about the law and order situation in Bangladesh and how the minorities, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, the Sufis and Ahmadiyyas, how they are being attacked. Today, another incident has come to light, that Amrit Mandal, same thing, you're blaming, Deepak Das was blamed for blasphemy, now he's being extortion. I cannot imagine a poor Hindu boy being allowed extortion of any kind, because they have no authority or any kind of control over the situation. In extortion. So it is a clear indication that the situation is out of control. Today is Christmas Day, and I was on another program with Nirmal Rosario, Christian from Bangladesh, and he was saying that how they're not even able to go to their church for worship, how their sacred St. Mary's Cathedral and others have been destroyed. So it seems to me that there is a distinct plan to do away with the minorities. These attacks on all the minorities, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Sufi and Ahmadiyya, have been going on right from 5th of August, since Sheikh Hasina left there. I will not say that it has never happened before, but I can say that the situation today is perhaps as serious as it was in 1970.
So ma'am, are you trying to say that this is happening as part of a strategy?
That is clearly so, because on the 5th of August, Sheikh Hasina's flight had barely left Dhaka, and two things happened. First, all the Awami League institutions were attacked. Any statue of Sheikh Mujib, anything to do with the 1971 liberation war, they were attacked. And second, all the minorities. Rapes, lynchings, killings, burning of property, burning of homes, grabbing of property, and people are forced to give up their jobs. There is a complete mobocracy in function in Dhaka since that time. And these mobs led, the Jamaat-e-Islami is in charge. That's the first thing to understand. Jamaat-e-Islami in charge. Muhammad Yunus is just the mouthpiece or the spokesperson of the Jamaat-e-Islami. He's doing whatever they tell him to do. The Jamaat-e-Islami has been put in place through the regime change operation, which ousted Sheikh Hasina, and was conducted through Jamaat-e-Islami by Pakistan with the backing of other Western powers. So the point is that the Jamaat-e-Islami has been allowed to take charge of the situation in Bangladesh, and now they're trying to make sure that in the fake elections, non-inclusive elections that they are planning, that Jamaat-e-Islami will be able to take control. But actually, that is why the minorities are in such a bad way, and they're sending out these messages. Not since 1971 have they been such a bad. There have been times in between, like in 2001, 2006, when there were a lot of attacks on them. Even, I would say even under Sheikh Hasina, when there were some attacks on Durga Puja Mandal, she clamped down on those attacks and they were stopped. So the negative forces of the Jamaat-e-Islami and others who don't want the minorities to exist anymore in Bangladesh, they want to follow the Pakistan pattern of eliminating all the minorities. And what they've been trying to do, very much a Pakistan-influenced regime. And today you're showing the visuals of Tariq Rahman, who's coming back. Of course, he has returned to Dhaka after 17 years. So he really is in a way out of touch with what is happening in Dhaka. There was a big reception. You're showing the visuals on your screen. But the reception was by no means euphoric. It was not euphoric, and I've been told by many people in Bangladesh.
They were indicating something, rather.
Yeah, they were there, the big posters and so on. But the streets were empty. There was just this place where the meeting was held, this 300-foot road where there were lots of people. And he gave a very brief speech. I don't think he has been in touch with his own people on a regular basis. And in any case, there is one thing to understand about the Jamaat-e-Islam, about Tariq Rahman and the BNP. First of all, he never condemned the attacks on the minorities. He gave several generalized statements. He referred to Martin Luther King. He said that everybody must live together. Some very generalized kind of statements, but he never once condemned any of the attacks on the minorities.
Right. Right.
So let us all work together, he said. Can the minorities who are being oppressed, where are they anywhere in the picture? They have been deprived of their jobs. Hindu teachers have been surrounded. Primary school teachers have been forced to resign their jobs. University professors have been forced to resign their jobs by the mob. And then Jamaat-e-Islami candidates are appointed in their place. So there is no law and order. There is no system. There is no justice that is prevalent there. In my view, the only answer to the situation is to have free, fair and inclusive elections.
Which is not in sight as of now.
Well,
which are not in sight as of now.
Yes, but as of yesterday or day before, even the congressmen of America, very senior ranking members of the Foreign Affairs House, have written Mohammed Yunus about having inclusive elections. But Mohammed Yunus's office denies that they've even got the letter.
Right.
They don't even know about the letter.
Right.
Obviously, they have no intention at the moment, but I feel that the pressure has to be built up, because without that, this kind of pressure, killings, lynchings of minorities will continue. The destruction of churches, destruction of places of worship, this will continue, and it will lead to more bloodshed. There will be another exodus to India.
Right.
Kind of thing will continue, but we have to, take this up very strongly. We know that this time the minorities have said that we belong to Bangladesh, we want to stay here, we want our rights. But Chinmoy Das, who was fighting for their rights, he's been in jail for 1 year.
Yeah.
And there's been no charges against him, no FIR, nothing. Journalists, the media is fully under control. They also have been fully suppressed. All the media boards have been changed, the boardrooms have been taken over. And many journalists are in jail on murder charges without any kind of trial.
You're right.
So even writing about this.
Right. And ma'am, I mean, there are protests being witnessed in different parts of Bangladesh. Minorities are hiding in fear. And in fact, like you were just mentioning, freedom of press to an extent has gone for a toss. How do you...
Not to an extent. Total freedom of press been removed.
So,
because anybody who was not friendly, what was not perceived as being friendly to the Yunus regime and the Jamaat-e-Islami, they've been put in jail. They've been, many have been, even some journalists have lost their lives. But I'm so amazed that even well-known global groups like, reporting, the Journalists Without Frontier, nobody's talking about the situation in Bangladesh. They're just letting it go by, they're just letting it drift. And all they want is for Jamaat-e-Islami to come into power, and maybe they want to establish, this is what Jamaat-e-Islami says, that they want to establish an Sharia law in Bangladesh. They want establish a caliphate in Bangladesh. This is their declared intention. And these people from the Jamaat-e-Islami and Islamic Chhatra Shibir, they say, we had to kill policemen in order to succeed. So, where the world is talking about a revolution and a spontaneous students uprising, what has happened in Bangladesh is nothing like that. It has been a very meticulously designed regime change operation. And Mohammed Yunus himself said this in New York last year in September 2024, that he said it did not happen by itself. It was meticulously designed, and he introduced the mastermind, Mahfouz Alam, his own special assistant. So
what you're saying, ma'am, it seems like there has to be a complete change in the approach, but because with the approach that is there right now, the stability in the country is, again, not in sight anywhere soon.
Not at all. In fact, there is no sector of the society that is working apart from law and order. The economy is good.
Yeah, you're right. And in fact, the interim government has said, like you were just mentioning a while back, that Awami League will not be able to participate in the upcoming polls. They said that the Election Commission has deregistered it. There was a letter written by some US lawmakers, you were just mentioning it, to interim government's chief advisor, asking him to create the conditions for free, fair and elections in the country, which again is not in sight. They've also expressed concerns about the interim government's decision to suspend the political activities of Awami League. Keeping all these factors in mind, how do you see the upcoming general elections? You called them fake a while back. Will they even take place? The question is this.
Yeah, this is another question that is coming up more and more, that will the elections take place? In fact, with the killing of Usman Hadi, the way they try to blame it on India, and India refuted strongly, then the government, the Yunus regime has been forced to go back and eat humble pie, because they have said quite clearly that we have no evidence that the killer went to India. In fact, we don't know who the killer is. So the Usman Hadi family, his brother, is now accusing the Yunus regime of complicity. They said, if you don't know who has been the killer, then you must be part of it. And then they put upon Yunus to resign. Now, this is a very dangerous, this is a very, I would say, a step that would not take place until somebody had advised the Inqilab Moncho, which is Usman Hadi's party, unless somebody had advised them to say this, to call for Yunus's resignation, this would not have happened. So I think that this is a kind of a very severe turn in the whole situation, and whether if they're going to just drift towards another election without including the Awami League, Jatiya Party and many other parties, this kind of violence will continue. Each side will try to finish off the other, and now that Tariq Rahman has come back, and Jamaat-e-Islami has shown no interest in working together with BNP on fighting with, they were together in an alliance government at one time between 2001 2006. They had an alliance government. I was their High Commissioner at that time. But now the Jamaat-e-Islami is preferring the other Islamist parties, the Islami Andolan Bangladesh, the Hizb ut-Tahrir, and all the others. The NCP is said to be joining up with the Jamaat-e-Islami. And the polls, the opinion polls, the national opinion surveys show a very conflicting situation. One poll done by the Pratham Alo, which is the largest Bengali language newspaper in Bangladesh, said 70% of the people want Awami League to participate in the elections. It doesn't mean 70% will vote for Awami League, but they want them to participate. They want free, fair and inclusive elections so that they can be called democracy in action. A genuine, democratic, participatory election is what the people want.
Indeed.
But this is not given to them.
Okay.
And then the same Pratham Alo survey said that at that moment, which was September, October, that maybe BNP will win. But another survey done by the IRI, National Republican Institute, said that no, the BNP and Jamaat are very close to each other. 33 points for BNP, 29 points for Jamaat-e-Islami. But if you add to the Jamaat-e-Islami points, the percentage vote which will go to, say, the NCP, say, the Islami Andolan Bangladesh, then Jamaat-e-Islami goes beyond BNP.
Ma'am, surveys will keep coming. One survey and the second survey and the third survey and so on and so forth. But, very quickly, because we have paucity of time, ma'am, I want to ask you this, that how should India look at Tariq Rahman's visit?
Well, it is the kind of assumed knowledge that BNP is the next biggest party after the Awami League. And so everybody assumed that if Awami League is not going to be on the ballot box, then the BNP will definitely, be the victor. And it will be an easy victory for them. I do not see it as such an easy victory, especially because the Jamaat-e-Islami has consolidated its own forces against the BNP.
Okay.
Traditionally, like when BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami were in alliance, then the BNP depended heavily on Jamaat-e-Islami for having big rallies, for collecting people. The BNP is largely restricted to urban areas, at the most semi-urban areas, and the entire vast rural areas is where the Jamaat-e-Islami is strong. The BNP has very little cadre in these rural areas. So that is why now, without the Jamaat-e-Islami support, it's going to be very difficult for the BNP to get organized within 6 weeks.
But like we were discussing earlier, we'll have to first figure it out. We have to wait and see whether elections will take place or not, which are scheduled in the month of February next year. But thank you so much, ma'am. Wonderful conversation, and thank you so much for joining in on DD India News. Thank you. Thank you once again.